Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to talk to you about your settings in SKUgrid. I'm not going to explain everything because there's a whole lot here, but I'm going to go over the ones that are really important and that you're going to have to interact with. Okay, so the first thing is how often you want SKUgrid to check your items. Okay, and this is kind of dependent on the way that you run your business, the kinds of items that you sell, and also the time of year. When it is in fourth quarter, you probably want to check your items more frequently because there's just so much more happening fourth quarter that it's really good to have more checks because you're going to encounter more out of stock issues, more repricing issues, and that kind of stuff. But it also depends on the kinds of items that you sell. If you're selling a lot of really expensive items, $300, $400, $500 items, you want to check your items more often because when your item's price changes, it's going to change fairly drastically. I mostly sell $20, $30 items. I am almost completely unaffected by price changes. I rarely lose money on a sale because of my pricing strategy and because, there's just, you would have to change, in order to change a $30 item's cost by like $40, you'd have to up its price by like 120%. That's crazy. Whereas if you have a $400 item, you could change its price by like 30%. And that's like $100 difference almost, right? So that's something to keep in mind here. I use every day. That's just because in my experience, I only need SKUgrid to just do a scan every now and then. And honestly, if it had the ability to do every other day, I would do that. But again, this is just because of the kinds of items that I post. When you have more expensive items, it's important that you check your items more often, right? And because I have so many items, checking every hour would cost 24 times more money than checking every day. And I pay $220 a month, right? So it would be, woo! There's no way I could check every hour. That's absurd. And as it is, I barely get any out of stock, so I'm happy with that. So I'm not going to talk too much about these. We're not going to worry about that. Now we're going to go into our, let's see, I should talk to you about keys. Because in order for SKUgrid to function, you need to link it to your eBay account. So you need to go into your settings and establish a connection between SKUgrid and your eBay account so that SKUgrid has the permission to change the prices on your eBay items, right? If you don't do this, then SKUgrid cannot change your eBay items, so what's the point of having it? So to do that, you go to Marketplaces, and then you click on eBay, and then you click on whatever marketplace you're selling into. I use the US marketplace. So I'm going to go there. And then it's going to take a second to load. And then, so I just scrolled past the top part because I shouldn't show you all of my keys. But if you go up, you can see where you get all of your eBay keys. And you can press on the buttons there to go find them. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to get into too much information about how to link them. I just want you guys to know that in order for SKUgrid to work properly, you need to link it to your eBay account so that it can make changes, right? So you need to establish how many times it's going to change items per day. And then you need to link it to your eBay account, right? And so here, let's talk about some of these other sections. So I really like the default quantity section because this is something that I can have my default quantity at 10 because I have really high account limits, and that enables me to have some really profitable sales because most people who sell stuff only sell 1 or 2 at a time. But since I sell 10 of an item, I'm able to get items that sell for 10 of them, and they were priced for shipping for each individual one, but usually I only have to pay shipping for one, so that's $6 of additional profit per quantity. It's pretty amazing. So that's why I love that setting. And I choose to update sold items to default quantity. That means that when an item sells, say that somebody buys 1 of an item. That means that the stock is going to go from 10 to 9. And with this set to yes, that means that when SKUgrid notices that the item has sold, then it's going to set it back to 10, right? And one important thing to note here, SKUgrid does not have the ability to check and see how many items are in stock. It only can see if the item is in stock or if it is not in stock. So there are some situations with a high default quantity where you'll sell 5 of an item, but your source only has 2 or 3 available. I would encourage you not to worry about this because in my experience, I've only come across this like twice since I started messing with default quantity like 4 months ago. It really doesn't happen that often. And when it does, you just give the buyer a partial refund or there's ways that you can deal with it. So I'm not going to talk about all of these settings, but if we scroll down here, this is where we determine what repricing formula SKUgrid uses. So I'm not going to explain how to change it. I'm just going to show you what I use. So if it's a $100 item, I will sell it for $140, right? That's because I use a 1.4 markup. In order to figure that out, you can switch to wizard view here and then do all of this and then save wizard for later and close, and it'll copy the formula and then you paste it in here, and then that's how you change your pricing on SKUgrid. I recommend you use 1.4. That's a good base, but you know, everybody has their own opinion on it. So now we've talked about the pricing, we've talked about the frequency of your checks. What else do we need to talk about? I think that's pretty much everything. Obviously, there's more settings here, and in the future there will be more videos about this, but for now I've covered the basics. So if you want to find more about SKUgrid, you can look at SKUgrid's YouTube channel. They have a YouTube channel detailing every single possible setting there is in SKUgrid, so I encourage you to check it out. Alright guys, ciao!